guys ready to watch the game?
Welcome back, guys. It's Nate here, Beyond the Gate, with the Dustman and Stefen and professional BMX racer Olijuwon Davis.
How you guys doing? Glad to be back.
We're gonna just be jumping on in, and so, what kind of training do you do, and how has it evolved through your entire BMX career?
Okay, so typically early on, I played football in high school, played football in college, so there's a lot of the weightlifting foundation. I ran track as well. Everything's kind of centered around, all the strength and conditionings are centered around, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, and things like that. So I think that was the basis of it. I know that was the basis of it for quite a long time. And then, so that was from, I was lifting in high school from about 2003 when I was a freshman and up until, I lifted pretty heavily. And that was like the basis of the training, I guess, outside of the bike. And it's crazy, I'm still talking about weightlifting. But that was kind of like what you did. Everything was just centered around weightlifting. I had my best friend was an All-American 100-meter dash runner in college. So he kind of like programmed from his university and just kind of like gave me that type of cycle of lifting. So that was what I did for so many years after I graduated from college up through 2017. And then in 2018, like out of the blue, which is just inevitable, if you do enough of that stuff, it's just physics. Like your vertebrae can only take so much, even if your technique's great. So long story short, I had a herniated disc in my L5 S1 lower back.
Yeah.
So I could squat all these numbers and power clean all these numbers, but at the time I couldn't go to the race because I couldn't stand on my tiptoes. I had a nerve block. So like I said, herniated disc, it was pushing into my spinal cord. I was losing sensation in my leg, so I was walking with a numb foot in 2018 for about, it was like a consistent month. I couldn't feel the bottom of my foot at all. Couldn't feel the back of my leg. It was numb. So I was kind of like walking with a flat tire. Mm-hmm. It took a consistent, so I found out that I had a herniated disc, and then it was like, okay, do I have to have back surgery? I'm 29 at the time, going to be 30, so you're starting to in my mind I was like, man,
am I getting old?
Am I getting old? Like, what the heck? Because nothing had ever happened. Luckily, I broke my leg when I was 19, but this kind of just happened out of the blue, and it was just inevitable, like I said, because of the things that I was doing. You're not meant to do it like that, especially if it's not your sport. Right. And weightlifting's not my sport. So,
right.
So I got the cortisone shot, I remember, because they said I could go that route instead of getting the back surgery. I was like, okay. So this is in February, March of 2018. So I get this cortisone injection, and that was April. Yeah, because it was I missed 2 races that year right away, or maybe 3. I got the cortisone injection, and it was like a slow process of 4 weeks. I started to get the sensation back, and I was coaching track, and I love coaching track because I can sprint. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone. Mm-hmm. You get to coach and run, right? Whoever runs, right? Mm-hmm. Who likes to run? But if I'm around sprinters, I guess you run, and it's great for you. So the focus went from weightlifting to being I need to be healthy, because I remember there was a 3-week period I didn't get to touch my bike. And it was because I was going to work and coming home, because then I was feeling good, because anything I did would set me back 3 weeks. My glutes were screaming, I had this band of pain. It was almost like a belt of pain around my waist. Lower back was killing. I was just a brick. It was so I started to realize if I don't feel well, I can't do anything. And if I lift, I don't feel well, therefore I can't do anything. So why don't I stop lifting? Then I feel good and I can ride my bike.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that was when I started riding freestyle more. Vic Bem, shout out to Vic Bem and Colt for everything. Vic kind of slapped me straight and was like, you need to kind of think about what you're doing. And mind you, he's very untraditional to the athlete, but he's a bike rider. He's a very gifted guy. Mm-hmm. But also too, he knows what he knows. Just you know what you know. You can take something from someone. Everybody's got something. Nobody's a one-man island. All wise men live through all men, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I took what Vic taught me, kind of started using that, and I just kept riding my bike and sprinting. So weightlifting was kind of out the door, but it was the only thing I knew. So I still kind of dabbled. And every time I dabbled, even if I modified it, I'd realize, because of what I was doing to my hips, that no matter what I did to my lower back like that, it would cause these sensations. So I just completely strayed away from it after a while. And then I got healthy, and it was just okay, thank you. So then into 2019, it was still no weightlifting. And I went to a race, and there was a soft track, and it kind of it was Louisville 2019, race the first day.
Yeah,
it was
fun.
Play-Doh.
Yeah.
We pumped every jump on the track, and I had that lower back issue, and my feet were turned out at the time when I walked, so that external rotation of your hip is not the move, I'll tell you that.
Right.
Talk about that all day. We won't get into it. But that's what was happening is I was trying to lift the bike out of the clay, essentially, and it's hard, and I already have this lower back issue. There's so much torque that sent me out. It's 87 days straight, which was 12 weeks straight in 2019. I didn't get to do anything. So I raced one day, got on the podium in Louisville, and then my back was wrecked. And now I'm a year later, and I'm thinking, like, I thought I got healthy. Like, am I now getting old again? Like, what happened? So I go back to the orthopedic specialist, and they're like, I'm like, do I have to have surgery now? Like, you know, it's, because can I still have the cortisone? They're like, well, we'll try the cortisone again. So they give me the cortisone, and nothing happened at that point. I'm like, dude, I think I'm done. Like, is what I'm thinking, like, because I couldn't try hard because it hurt. And then when it hurt, you went home psychologically, you were just, like, drained. It was like, you know, every time I woke up or a step I took, it was like, can I ride my bike well? Oh, it hurts. When am I going to be able to ride my bike well? So that was just so draining. So they gave me the cortisone, it didn't work, and I just kind of like kept laying low. I went back to the orthopedic, and I was like, I need something. And he was like, we can't give you cortisone. And I was like, well, then cut me open. That's what I thought. At least I'd rather be 90% myself than 60% myself is what I thought. And he was like, how about we send you to therapy? I was like, all right, I'll go to therapy. So we did some stretches, and lo and behold, like, did these like hip stretches, which at the time worked, and they did, and it released my back, and like, but then I went from not being able to like get my hands past my knees to the following day I'd never been able to, but the next day I was doing the splits, and like I was just like, how's this happening? Like, and like, it was just literally like my back, all the tension went out of my back for the first time. So then at that point I realized I'm never lifting weights like that again, because I'd rather just sprint and try to do backflips in the foam pits and learn 360s and then be in pain and not be able to like tie my shoes. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I was like, dude, I'm not even old. I'm a child still. Yeah. So that was 2019, and then once we hit 2020, we were on the way to Tulsa. It was February 2020, and that's when everything changed for like training, and I started realizing some other things. So I don't do any of those other things anymore. I don't have any of those issues anymore.
Right. So you don't sprint?
Oh, I sprint.
You sprint?
I don't lift those weights.
Is that like your best go-to training then?
How do I explain this? If you're a 100-meter dash runner, you think you should probably run 100-meter dashes or go to the weight room?
Correct.
I mean, you're doing
I feel the same thing, yeah.
Now, with the things that I talked about from February 2020, once you start to look at the stuff that I've started to look at and learn what I've looked at and start to learn it, you start to realize none of the patterns from the weight room are showing up in any sport except for in the moment of injury.
Yeah.
So once you start to realize, oh wow, we're coding these things in the weight room, then when I watch myself ride the bike, that's not the pattern that I ride the bike, but when I mess up on the bike, the weight room pattern shows up, and then when everyone gets hurt in sport, the weight room pattern shows up. But that's like a conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
So mind you, I lived that, and I saw I saw that, and I lived it firsthand. Plus, you know, I went to school for biomechanics and all that BS, but like I sat through those classes, so you start to realize these studies, and then I learned what I learned at the beginning of 2020, and I realized all that stuff was like this philosophy. It was the philosophy that they're using for all the training. And then if you look at all the sports, if you lift weights, your training is strength and conditioning is Olympic lifting, powerlifting. If you play basketball, your training is Olympic lifting, powerlifting. If you play soccer, your strength training is Olympic lifting, powerlifting. If you play hockey, you start tennis, and then once you start to realize what movement is, with all due respect, like I said, that's kind of like vague. Once you realize what movement is and you start looking at it, you're like, okay, so you can actually do so much other stuff outside of the weight room, doing it the right way, and just code these movement patterns. And then that's just like kind of vague, but yeah, I don't do any of those things that I used to do, and I feel like I'm 12. I have no issues. My feet are no longer flat. I have no Achilles tendonitis. I have no herniated disc anymore. That went away with no surgery, no nothing. But that's what happens if you fix your feet. You've heard me talk about fix your feet. So yeah, but that's all good athletes have really good feet, and that means that they have a good foot ankle complex, and I'll just leave it at that. Learn how to use your foot ankle complex.
All right, so I don't think I might know, but what was your first pro national?
My first pro national, I went to the local track, turned pro on January 3rd, 2011, because I always said I was going to finish college before I turned pro. Then I realized I was on a little bit longer track of college, and I didn't want to wait because I'd already been in college for 4 years. So I was like, well, if it's supposed to be a 4-year process, at least I'm on year 4, so now I'm going to turn
Right,
pro.
so technically, you know.
Yeah, it's all good. If I'd have been perfect, I'd have been done and turned pro. So I turned pro in January 2011, which was like right before the end of that 4th year of school. January 3rd, 2011 was the day I signed up. I started racing pro-ams at the local track with Tyler Whitfield. I'm not sure if maybe you weren't coming around right at that time, right at first.
I don't think so.
I think you had still been away from the game for a little bit, but it was like Whitfield and Tyler Whitfield, Brandon Seslock, Ryan Zinzo, Justin Richmond. All those kids were up and coming AM riders that were all top 5 nag. So Tyler was, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 at the time that I was racing him every weekend at the local.
Yeah.
And Brandon was a year behind him, and Justin and Ryan were a year behind them. So every year they got faster. You got to, now your fastest kid around you 16, now he's 17, now he's 18, now he's 19, and he's winning. So really helped you go up. So I turned in 2011, and then my first pro national was Guthrie. Guthrie Indoor 2011. And the first day, it was, Friday night race. It's pro open when there was A and AA. So I remember Barry Nobles was there racing on Friday. Jake Peebles. We had a couple other AAs. And there was no semi, but we were just short of semi with like 15 guys. But there was a tie after the third moto for the last 2 guys. And I was well up above the tie. So I was like, oh man. My moto scores were good enough. I didn't even got to worry about it. So 2 dudes had to race it off for the main.
Oh wow!
Took the pro set and everything through like the qualifier, and then came back and raced us in the main. So I was just like, what? So I remember for some reason I can't remember what I got in that main that day. But the next day was the first time I raced A Pro, and I remember, Dennison was there, Alex Anthony. Thomas Fernandez. Shout out to Thomas Fernandez. He still races. He kills it. But he was just like, he was AA and maybe just coming off of AA, but he was still so fast, dude. I remember like my first main, I came out of the first turn, it was Alex Anthony and Dennison, or Dennison and Alex, and I'm in third, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get on the podium in pro, and I like take over tap coming out of the turn, and it was one of those dog leg straights, so I put myself on the outside, so Fernandez came up, someone else came up, and I remember I finished 5th, but I was like, dude, I can do this.
Oh yeah.
And then, but yeah, that was 2011, January 2011. That was my first pro national. And I made the main both days. I can't remember when I got the second day, but yeah, I remember I was like, all right, I can race this.
Right.
So that was the first one.
Why don't you tell us about your first pro national win?
Right.
Okay, so that was Atlanta 2011, that same year. I rode for Morphine Industries. Dorn Bradshaw was the guy that picked me up after I went from Revolution to like Event Bombshell. That happened for a little bit, and then that folded. So I was kind of like almost without a sponsor. Rockford 09, Dorn Bradshaw, and Jonathan Reeves at Morphine Industries came and picked me up. And Dorn was like my dad from 2000. He's still like my dad, but like deliberately was, if you will, a manager. He booked every plane ticket I ever got on, or that I ever had to like fly with. Signed me up for every race, pre-signed everything. He just asked me where I wanted to go. I'd let him know. He'd fly me out. I mean, like, all I did was practice by myself, right? I never got all these opportunities by myself. I just made sure that all these people that were funding me, I was going to make sure that I was practicing to be able to ride at a level so that they would still want to fund me, so I could show my appreciation.
Right.
So that was like the driving self-motivation, not pressure, but pressure to go and do things when you don't want to try, or go train or practice and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Dorn picked me up and he took care of everything, so I got my first national win as a pro at that race. I try to think, I can't remember if we raced on Friday or not that year, but I won on Saturday. And then I remember the main on Sunday, I was on the inside and I got like a decent gate. Someone had a good gate and I just like started rolling because I like the gate, whatever. I was just like, yeah, you just got out but I didn't get cut off, so I just started chunking. And you get to the first jump and he's starting to move over, and I'll never forget like that slow-mo effect when you know you've got something. Like I like pulled my elbow around him and just like put it on like in front of him, and then at that point I just moved over. And it was one of those tracks that went 90-degree left, 90-degree left, 180 right, left.
I remember that one.
So you took 3 turns left. So once you hit the first turn, it like single file. You hit the second turn, single file more.
Thing right there between
his first turn, triple, and then second turn, and then like 2-3 doubles, and then a 180.
Yeah.
Hit a rhythm, and then a last turn that went to the right. So you took 3 left turns and a right, and I won the second day. And I was like, man, I just won. I remember too, Justice King. Nate,
Oh, yeah.
his mother and father, Crystal and Nate, they were people that took me everywhere for like 3 years, and
Yeah.
I rode in the truck with them to that race, and
Massachusetts.
rode everywhere.
Yeah,
I
that
won
was a
that
good one.
weekend in Atlanta, and I got to that race because Nate took me. Like Doran funded everything. Like I said, all I did was practice by myself, and I get on my bike and ride by myself. But everything else was because somebody gave me a chance, because I didn't have the opportunity. I did, but I didn't. I had a lot of brothers and sisters, and my mom was, my dad, they work a lot of hours and things like that. So it was always just like, if you had something, try to make it, keep it well or do well with it. So anytime I got some help from Bob's Bike Shop, Dale and Jackie Bolin, I appreciate everything for all those years. And then, like I said, Neil Banks at Revolution, and then Doran, they all helped me to be able to get to that point where I could get to the Nationals. I didn't even get to enough Nationals until 2009. It was the first time I ever got a nag plate. Because I'd never been to more than 3 Nationals in a year. And then I got nag 5 for the first time, and I was like, man, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was that first win. Nate Button took me there. Appreciate you, Nate. Doran funded it. I got that W. It was cool.
So I know a lot of the experts want to know. I never have had the chance to go pro. I really should have. I never did though. I might. Never. Who knows? But
Doesn't matter.
a lot of people want to know, like especially experts that are about to come, to be a pro. What is the biggest change from going expert to pro?
We have to keep in context that when I first turned pro, and when most people first turn pro, other than currently, it was you could turn A pro or double A.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just men pro, which is essentially double A,
Right.
because everybody's racing at the highest.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, from expert to even A pro is like racing main events, because you have more fast people in the motos, and each moto is a main event essentially without being a main event, because it's low points.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of 3 motos, low points chooses first or second or third gate in the semis. Then you finish in the semi. First in the semi gets first choice, first in the second semi gets second, second in the first gets third, second in the second gets fourth, and then 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
Right.
That's just how it goes. So every race you need to jockey for position, so there is no kind of free just flowing. At least not to the first turn. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And once you're at the first turn, you can just, it's rhythm and flow and things like that, and just conserving energy. But
So that's why a lot of people don't do risky moves, because they want that position.
yeah, because it's just
every
every
lap counts.
Yeah, every lap counts. That's why it's just consistent racing. It's respectful. It's respectful. It's harder. You have so many people. There's less room for error. So many good people. There's less room for error, and everybody's tight, if you will, meaning everybody's correct. Everybody knows what they're doing a little bit more. So then it becomes harder. There's less error. So there's less room to make, to capitalize on an opportunity. Because if no one messes up, and neither do you, how are you going to catch the dude if you guys are literally going the same speed?
Right.
And he has a bike, you know what I'm saying? The guy behind you has a bike behind you, but he ain't caught up either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you're racing good people, that's what it's like.
Yeah.
So then you're just
I see that a lot.
Inches
Yeah.
and feet.
Yeah. I see
and
that
it's
a lot.
huge to the
for
first
sure.
jump, especially the more people you have that are fast, the more you have to be crisp out of the gate, and that's the hardest part. Everybody knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that races knows the gate's the hardest part.
Yeah, for sure. I've been racing for, I don't know, who knows, 26 years. I still can't do it. I've asked you, I don't know how many times. You showed me correctly a couple times. I'll remember, but I'll forget.
It's very much like it's a very specific pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and you can code yourself to do the pattern, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
Or you can code yourself to not do the pattern.
Yeah.
And most people are coding themselves to not do the
Yeah,
pattern.
well, I'm getting better. I'm definitely getting
It's
better.
okay.
For sure.
It's okay.
I did good in grands, for sure.
Gates are tough, but
Yeah.
once you you figure out a technique too. But there's also
that night 5 challenge helped me a lot.
oh yeah, mentally you're bangers. You're like hello.
And I did really good, and my gates were doing good after that. I was just cool.
In your mind, you're like, I can do this.
Yeah, I was just calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my motos, and no respect, no disrespect to my other guys, but I was just like, man, I was just without all the best.
If
Like,
this then that, if
Right.
I'm beating those
And you
dudes.
got a nag 5. Did you get into the nag 5?
Yeah,
challenge?
2009 at the end of the year I got nag 5, and I broke my wrist at Florida.
Yeah.
The race before that, I had surgery the next week, and then raced the Grands 2 weeks later. I got 2 seconds at the Rock, but I was officially nag 6 going in, so I missed. Corey Cook turned pro at the Grands, so technically I slotted up to 5, but the race was already set.
Oh, no way.
So the whole production was set, the people were set,
Right.
so they didn't allow me to get in. so I didn't race it. So then in 2010, when I was wearing NAG 5 on my number plate in National 59, I made the NAG 5 challenge because I was sitting NAG 5, and I'm on the shirt as the 5th rider from 1927X. And that year I made it out of first moto. I can't remember if I won first moto, but I was like, man, I made it out. And I made it out of the semi. And I was like, holy cow. And I remember sitting in the NAG 5 challenge gate, sitting in lane 1, being like, and I hate the inside, you know what I mean? I'm a swinger. I remember I was sitting, I'm like, yo, how'd they give me the inside? I'm looking over, Connor Fields is in lane 7 or 8, and Rusty's on the one outside him. I'm like, man. And I'm just like, well, I don't know if I get there. Right. So I'm just piping, I remember, and I'm in lane 1, and in my mind, I'll never forget that race. I was like, whoa, dude, I'm here. I went in the first turn, and like I said, I'm not an insider. Right. But I was lane 1, and Connor's a phenomenal racer. Connor had come down, and Rusty was behind him on top. Yeah, Rusty was outside because he was on top of him. I remember I see Connor, and I'm just like, oh gosh, I hope I can hold on. And I just stuck my outside pedal and carved under him. I was like, what? So I'm thinking like, oh, but catch Connor. Yeah. Rusty comes dropping it off the turn. I'm in second. There was 2 rollers out of the turn that year, 2010. It was the year Maris broke his wrist. Tap manual that double, and Rusty was on my right side behind me, and he was dropping into the corner, and I was sprinting low. So when I manualed the double, he had more speed, and he ran right into my hand. And I turned left and swerved. Rusty went by. Everybody went by. I went from 2nd to 8th. I was like, and I looked going on 2nd straight. I was like, I thought I was going to see if I could try to catch him. Let's see if I can try to catch him, how close I can stay, or see if I can, you're just like, go. And then, Rusty took 2nd. I remember I got back on the gas, and some dudes exploded in that, decision maker process. So I, Brad, jumped around and took 6th, and I was like, man. So then I remember it was just very, in your mind, you're like, man, I was right there. But you're not going to go talking about that, because I got 6th. Right. I just remember walking over when they were doing the awards, everybody gets presented on the stage. Connor is talking to Rusty. And it was kind of cool, because I'm walking up. They don't know I'm walking up. And Connor's like, man, Nugget was right there. And I'm like, I knew I was right there. Rusty's Rusty's confirmation. Rusty's like, I hit him coming out of the turn. I was on top of him. I was like, that's exactly what happened. It was killing me. I was like, whoa, razzle dazzle.
They all knew you were there.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. You're like, okay. And then that was the last amateur race that I raced as a national. And then that January, 2 months later, I turned pro.
Right, and then so since you've been racing pro so long and everything, what's kept you hungry in it? What drives you to keep racing and training? What's the big thing for you that makes it happen?
So just I don't know, I'm competitive. I like to fight, if you will. I like to fight with other people. I like to fight with myself in a positive sense, meaning fight my capability, my ability, try to up things. When I do stuff, I try to see if I can do it better. I'm constantly, trying to do better on myself, not so much people around you, because if you focus on yourself and you just race yourself, you go up. Eventually you're kind of standing by yourself. And when you do that for a long time, you realize that that's the thing. So I think what I do is I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive, and I like to see things. I've learned all this stuff from I went to school to be a teacher, and you learn all this goal setting stuff, right? You write stuff down. You hear if you write stuff down, you're more likely to, continue to do it. So I would try writing. When I got my first pro podium check, which is a pro-am at Elgin, Barry Nobles won, Tyler Farrow got 2nd, I got 3rd. Yep. Yeah, Stefen, you were there. That was 2010. You fell in 2000. Yes. Yeah, you fell in that race. Yeah, Deke hit me in the last turn. And I somehow over you and I somehow stayed up. Deke hit me and then Stefen flipped over Deke. I was I thought he was gonna punt me over the corner. I don't even know how I made it on the turn. Because I wasn't much of an aggressive. And at that time, I'm like, oh, here we go. I hope I know how to do outside pedal down. And I just hit him, and he I was like, oh shit.
That was the start of the shoulder, bro.
Yeah, that was the start of the shoulder. If you front flipped off that drop off, smoked in the face. What was I saying? I'm sorry. Oh, what keeps me motivated? Yeah. So what it is just writing stuff down. So what I did, the reason I mentioned that race and that check is I would wake up, and I was in college, and I didn't like to sprint. I didn't like the extra practice. I just grew up going to the track, and Rockford's got 13 pedals to the drop off. And then it had more pedals when it was just wide open, so you didn't even have to sprint. You just went to the track and did first straights. We didn't grow up sprinting at home. I was like, you guys do sprints?
No, we do sprints at the track.
Just go to the track and drag strip it. Yeah. So that's how we grew up. But then it was just I went to college, and it was okay, well, who's going to tell me to get up when I'm living with 3 friends? It was I got to tell myself to get up. So what I did was I wrote, how good do you want to be? I just wrote that with a question mark, and I stuck it over that check because it was right in front of my bed. So when I'd wake up, it was the first thing I'd see, and I'd be like, okay, I'm talking to myself. I can't ignore myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing that, and then I started writing it on a calendar, like the days that I would ride, so I could see it, so I wouldn't guess if I rode. How many days did I ride this week? So that was in 2013, maybe 2014. But I have every single time I've ridden my bike since 2015 or 16 in my telephone. Every single time. Because if I write it down, I know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate questioning if I've done something. So if I do anything bike related, I
Right.
put it in my bike training, and it's just something to look at.
Right.
And then when I look at it, it's like, oh, I rode 5 times this week. Only didn't practice twice. I ride more than I don't.
Right.
So
And
when
I mean,
people are like, where have you been? The question that I always have for them is, where were you the other 5 days that I was riding this week, and you happened to see me once at the only place that you come to ride?
Yeah.
I like to ride freestyle, I sprint, I go to tracks. I have a starting gate at the high school I work at, so I just sprint. I do gates, I sprint, I do 360s and manual around the track. It's just like simple bike skills.
Yeah.
Like Victor told me, Victor Mem said, you don't gain skills at the track, you learn skills everywhere. And then you take them wherever you're riding.
Mm-hmm.
The track is just like the flat, wide open place where you use the skills.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Learn how to use them in the tight skate park or the streets where everything's sketchy, and like you're like, can you even ride that? And you start riding, and it's just like, man, you go to the track, it's wide open.
Yeah, for sure.
You're like, you see a move, you're like, dude, that door's clear open. I'm going right through there because you know what confident.
Yeah, I didn't learn manual at the track. I learned it at home.
Yeah,
Yep.
watching Lundy manual like in the parking lot when I was a kid made me go home and try to manual crack to crack. And once I got that, I remember
Same
it was
thing.
the city block, and then like I remember trying to get sign to sign, bro, for me and D.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if I don't get this eventually,
Yeah.
and then you get it, and you're like, well, what's a block?
Yeah. And then, you know,
Once a day, and you're like, you're not ever there. You're just
Yeah.
trying to be a better you.
Just trying to always better yourself.
And that's what gets me going. That's what keeps me going. Is better
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I mean, just steps up from, the basics, like you said, going from crack to crack, going from block to block, that is going from,
Straight away. So
Yeah,
you do those straight
for
away
sure,
with the
yeah.
jumps. And that's what it is, bro. It's just constant progression of self. And if you have that, you can keep going. When you lose that, it's just like anything. You lose the desire to want to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And because of, doing this for so long and having mental ups or mental downs and times where you didn't want to, but every time you go and ride and do what you love, you remember. But there's that stress about it.
Mm-hmm.
But every time you like I said, you get around your friends, you realize why you do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the desire to not want to do it, I believe, is the moment that you get old. Because we can all remember when we did stuff. The reason we can remember is because we don't do it anymore, because you stopped liking it,
Yeah.
right? But if you kept liking it, where would you be? So with your sport, if you can keep it fun. That's why I don't like racing to be one-dimensional. After 2017 is when I opened up everything, and it was just like, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I can't believe I just
Back
went to
to
the
having
track.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I always, don't get it twisted, I always had fun, but it was just so, single dimension. Like,
Right.
sprint, lift weights,
Right.
track.
Right.
Yeah.
You're so focused. I mean, don't get me wrong.
But
Yeah,
mind
it's
you-
fun, but it wasn't fun. Like
Yeah, it wasn't
in the
fun,
beginning.
but mind you,
When you go
when
to
In
the
the beginning,
trails.
right?
When
I
you
mean,
realize-
it's always
Yeah.
fun to be on your bike,
Yeah.
but at the same time, when it becomes a job,
Yeah, you don't want to
Yeah.
count your sprints.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
So-
want to count down if I have to do X amount. I want to count up because I'm enjoying them. That's
Right.
a whole different mindset.
Yeah, right.
I remember I'd be like, okay, I got 6 more, 5 more, 4 more. That's like you're just ready to be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're counting
That-
down.
That's not good. You want to
Yeah.
count up. That's why when you ride freestyle, you don't count. You'd have to watch the videos and be like, oh, I did that 14 tries. It's
Right.
because you're trying to get it.
Mhm.
You're not
Right.
counting down until you can be done. You're just doing it all day until you get it so that you can finally be done.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's that
Yeah.
drive to just land it. You just want to hold on to it and have it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I try to, I want to grab. So I just keep chasing it until you get closer and grab it.
Right.
You only get to grab things for a little bit of time too. So you got to
Mhm.
keep trying to run and grab them. You don't
Yeah.
have them forever. Like I said, you win that national,
Right.
they don't give you the win the next day.
No.
Yeah.
You got to race the first moto.
Mm-hmm.
You
Back
know?
to a new clean slate.
Yeah, so if you won yesterday and you're bummed that they're not going to give it to you, are you going to be able to go out and do it again, or are you a folder?
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
All you got to do is show up. 80% of success is showing up. You show up, at least you're there. Even if you don't want to, you're going to try if you got it in you.
Mm-hmm.
Just show up.
Yeah.
Show up.
All right. So, what's your next race you plan on attending? You got the future plans going on?
So as far as next race, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the calendar. Things have been, like everybody says, quote, things have been crazy since COVID. No, they really haven't, because it's been nice to slow things down and just ride your bike and focus on riding your bike, not have to worry about getting in the car, worrying about where you're going for X amount of days. I mean, I can't lie, that's not stressful at all. You get to wake up and go
Yeah.
practice. So as far as the next race, couldn't tell you. But like I said, I typically do gates or sprint 5 times a week, so every pretty much day that ends in Y, I'm riding bikes.
Right.
Staying ready.
I think the best way to be ready is to stay ready. I don't think you get ready by going to the race. I think you, like you said, like it's like skills are built outside, so then you go to the track with them. You don't get good at racing or the skills of racing, the concept of racing, unless you're constantly practicing and sharpening skills or technique, and then going to battle with people. And the outdoors about to start here pretty soon. So I don't have to just do gates by myself in the school, just which is just like so much mental, just like let's bang these out great and get the practice in, so, you know, throw some 360s in the middle and get tired, right? So, but as far as, like I said, the plans, it's like as far as my plans with riding bikes or like my plans with food and water, I plan to continue to consume food and water so that I can have you know, energy, and I continue to you know, ride my bike because that is what I do. So, but like I said, to be ready to be able to ride the bike, it's not even about racing, it's about riding, because racing is what we're doing. We might go to the trails, we might go ride a rail, we might go ride the skate park. I want to be able to ride so that when I go there, I can ride the rail, and I can ride the track, and I can ride all of those things, because all of those things don't matter. What if I just focused on, like in my mind, it's so crazy if I thought about just focusing on being great at the skate park.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
Like-
that's
like,
the
what?
thing, children. That's
Like,
the
wait,
thing.
what?
Like the difference between a good rider is just what he just said. He's riding everywhere. He don't just ride the BMX track.
That's just the part where we compete.
Right. That's not. It's like he said. He's learning way more outside of the BMX track. So
And then taking
the
it all
kids
there.
that are at the track thinking they're learning everything. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can learn at the BMX track, but the best places, like you said,
Is everywhere.
Mhm.
It's just because of the multi dimensions. Like I said, if you can ride, like, I don't know, just like for example, a ledge and then a gap to another ledge, and you're jumping from a plank to a plank over a gap, which is essentially a pro double. And you jump a pro double and there's no middle, and you're already landing from a plank to a plank. When you get on an 8-person wide jump, it's not going to feel that. It's going to be like, well, it's a little more comfortable. You start bunny hopping and spinning in a circle, right? You're like, well, when I jump straight, I can control myself straight. Like, all these things become a little more wide open. You ride without brakes. That's something that I would advise everybody to try, because you can never learn how to ride without brakes unless you're forced to have 0 brakes.
How
and you
long?
use your
How long did I ride? without
knees
brakes?
and hips, bro. You always race without
I
brakes.
had no brakes forever.
You passed bike inspection because your brake cable,
cable
was
was tied
taped
on,
into
yeah.
the barrel.
And everybody was like, dude, they were.
Does it used to be like,
wild.
they still don't work.
I learned the best.
You learn how to control your bike
Yes.
by yourself.
Yes,
And there's
for sure.
nothing like that. So there's so many dimensions, like, because this is the thing. How long can you, in a day, how long can you quote, as everybody sees it, quote, train for BMX?
Like,
You're going to go to wherever your training thing is. Most people go to the gym. How long do you spend in the gym? You can't overdo the gym. You're only supposed to do specific stuff, as they say. So that's done. That's an hour.
right.
Then you're going to do sprints. How long do sprints really take? Okay, so that's 2 hours. That's 2 hours. An hour. And maybe 40 minutes. So that's an hour and 40 minutes out of your entire day, and that's your whole thing. And maybe you're going to go to the track. Well, how about you wake up and do sprints for 40 minutes? Now you've got all day to decide if you want to go. You've already done your power and acceleration work.
Yeah.
You do your gates, that's done in an hour. Now you can decide, it's morning, you can go ride freestyle, we can go ride the ledges, the rails, we can go do some 360s, we can ride the manual pad, we can go ride the trails, we can go ride the skate park, and then later we can go to the track too. Now your whole day, your lifestyle is BMX.
Yeah.
You're not just limited to, that's like just training in the gym. That's like saying that the gym is the only training. You're crazy.
Practice when you
Right.
practice when you race. You wake up and go race. So wake up and
And go practice. And there's multiple levels of practice. Like I said, it's not just one dimensional. Mind you, if you just get up and go freely do stuff, go ride your bike, run into a wall, endo, back up, fakie, land on your back wheel, spin around. Tell me that that's not harder than jumping the double.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot more skill to do
I
that.
bet you can't backpedal when you're rolling backwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go throw a bar spin. Tell me how many tries that takes you.
Right.
I'll be here. I did a few hours, bro,
Mhm.
just eating it,
Yeah,
right?
it's
But that's
hard.
like, that's mentally to jump and let those bars go is harder than most.
hard.
Just to let it go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. Like the mentals behind all this stuff, to think that, and then to have experienced all these things too, and have seen it firsthand, and what this did to my body, and how this was like what people said maybe not to do, but then to be like, y'all are crazy because this is what actually works, so think what you want. I'm laughing, right, and feeling good and going fast. You know, so just, like I said, just trying everything, man, and keeping an open mind.
So you do plan on coming to Midwest, obviously, then?
Yeah, it's my home, bro.
Right,
I grew up racing in Rockford. My mom lives 2.5 miles down the street.
Yeah. So
I've been racing Rockford every single year since 2000. The only time I didn't was 2020 because they didn't have Midwest. And guess what? Got to go home at that state championship and race that flat pedal pro-am.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was, we just talked about that. We just talked
I
about
thought about it the other day.
Yeah, we just talked about that on the last episode, matter of fact. Or no, it was 2 episodes ago with
Ryder.
With Ryder, yeah.
Yeah, he took that too.
Yeah.
So it's funny, we didn't get to race the 2 days at Midwest this year, but I got a pro-am at Elgin that I got to race in front of my mom in 2020. And then I got to race in front of my mom again, which would have been day 2 of Midwest at Rockford.
Yeah.
So I got my Midwest National.
And really that was one of the biggest state championships has been there.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
the fact that they had a flat pedal program, that was so rad.
Yeah. And
people need to start riding more flats, man. If you ain't riding flats, you're asleep.
Yeah, and Ryder, man, dude, he was like, he could have got you in the first corner, bro. I was like in there trying to tell him
those moves are those are those low percentage moves. If those don't work, and as you saw, you come out, and now that gap gets huge.
Yeah, and
so that's kind of like reaching for a shot.
That's
kind of like a long shot.
I was literally behind him, telling him.
But to be in the position to do that, you have to be close enough.
Yeah.
So you got to give credit. I love Ryder. I was like, dang, Ryder, he was pushing. What?
Man, he really good. I was right behind him, and I'm sitting there telling him, do it, bro. Do it, and he didn't. I'm like, oh man, come on, man.
I'm gonna put my guard up when he comes in, though.
Oh yeah, he was a little guy. Yeah, he was a little guy.
It's just funny.
That's how he felt too, because he had so much.
You ride wide open, and then if there's a thing, you close.
And he's learned from both of us, so he has mad respect.
Yeah, I love him. I thought it was so rad.
Right,
so he was jogging on everybody else too. I was like, look at him.
He wanted to put you over, but he didn't.
That's what they're supposed to want to do. That's like going into a fight and being like, you're not supposed to want to hurt the guy in the race or in the fight. But if it's a back and forth, you're trying to win. It's not even that you're trying to do anything dirty, you're just trying to win. You know what I mean? So, of course, if you're not trying to beat me, what are you racing me for?
Yeah. Right.
That's wild.
Right.
I'm trying to beat you, I promise.
Yeah.
I promise.
So, is there anything else that you would like to know about Olijuwon, or you? Either one of you, I mean.
The people at Elgin want to know if you're coming back to do some mic drops and spit some bars.
When y'all say coming back, where did I go? The track stopped riding.
Just announcing.
Midwest, we have that winter.
At the local
we ain't got that full time ride, so we got to come back.
Like
we always have a comeback.
Yeah, we're in hibernation for a couple months.
We always have a comeback.
I've been blessed to have I've been blessed to have the school at my gate there, so I just utilize that. But I hear I'm coming back to the track once they start. I went to the track yesterday to see if it was rideable. It's still a little soft because we had a ton of snow this winter, more so than. But we've been able to ride in February and the years past. The snow's been limited. It's still a little wet, but I love cutting it up on the mic.
Yeah,
freestyle flowing, calling the races.
Yeah, we asked him about that on the first episode.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to do it, but at the same time,
I'll go out there and get my practice
I'd love to just hear you guys, announce fucking me and Nate. It would be awesome to just have, you guys
the homies
saying our names,
freestyle. Look at Duddy,
man. It's always awesome to have friends, announcing.
That's the best part about racing is like, could you imagine going to the race, or could you imagine just riding your bike? Like I've been there. How many times have you rode a bike by yourself? How many times I go practice by myself and just repeat gates and click the button, get in and set up and go and go and go. And you can do that because you have to, but you enjoy riding. That's why you do these things that are just like mundane because you like it, because you want to be fast and you have to. That's discipline.
Right.
But once you get around your friends, you go to the track and you're BSing.
Yep.
How dope is the ride to the track?
That's
always the best part.
Hanging out after the practice on Wednesday night at Rockford. With all us, you know what I mean?
Just the road trip in and of itself,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Just the camaraderie of bikes and BMX is like I said, if the track is open, I'm coming to the track. The only way I'm not coming is if the track ain't open.
Because even just in the winter, we get about a month away from the track, and I'm like, man, I miss all the people.
Yeah.
Just
the folks. I showed up at Steel Wheels the other night, and I hadn't been to the track. Mind you, I hadn't been to the track since December 18th when we went before the end of the year. And I hadn't rode a track again until the other day, which was like March 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I ride 5 times a week and do gates, but I hadn't been back to the track. So when I got in there, you'd been sprinting and spinning and da-da-da. You felt fine, but you were like, man, I missed all these dang people. I forgot what it's like to just chop it up,
environment, man.
Yeah, just seeing everybody.
For sure.
Like common interest, you know what I mean?
And then, like, speaking of, like, all, like, the cool people, like, what's your most memorable, like, road trip you've had with all the homies on, like, to a destination?
Oh, man, I think the most memorable... Man, dude, honestly, when we went to Chula Vista Olympic Training Center in 2011, because I raced Supercross there in 2010, that was quite memorable. That was the first time I ever saw the track in person. You're like, is that hill real? Like, you're gonna ride on that thing? It was a 42-foot jump at the bottom of the... with no middle. I ain't even... Dude, I pedaled down the hill like twice. Oh my gosh, I cased that thing so hard the first time I thought I was gonna die. I jumped it right the second time, I'll tell you that.
I bet.
Oh gosh, I thought I broke my wrist, but
You cased that twice.
oh no way, dude! I had to fix my bike. I thought my ankles were broke. I was like, dude. Visor came down in front of everybody. I was like, novice.
Right.
But
Minus 5 horsepower.
oh yeah. I took 2 pedals on a 9. I got scared. I thought the ground was going.
We got it.
But the next year we went and man, Dorn Bradshaw. We went out to the Chula Vista after party, hung out with David, like everybody. Let's just say everybody. Boy, that was quite the night. Woke up the next morning and we watched racing. That was the first time I ever watched racing while I was at the races. But I was grown. Dorn funded the party too, so he wasn't mad. Right. He was like, "Oh, we'll just pay for the next race. We'll just move that credit to the next race." But yeah, it's San Diego, California, 2011.
That's awesome.
That was quite the trip. Everybody that was there, oh gosh.
Nobody raced the next day.
Good thing I didn't have a smartphone then.
It'd be some wild pictures.
Yeah, that and that same year, I'm so sorry, that same year, yeah, we walked to Mexico when that cartel stuff was going on.
Oh my god.
So we walked over to San Ysidro, we drove over to San Ysidro, which was, you could spit to the fence, border fence.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, we've never been to Mexico. You guys want to go? And they had told us all these horror stories of the homies that had gone there because of Chula Vista and got robbed, like borderline kidnapped and robbed.
Oh wow.
We're just like, okay, let's do it. So we're like stupid. We're like, all right, there's 5 of us. We're fast. We'll just run in and run out.
Right.
So we're like, hey, how do you get in? How do you get back? They're like, you can get in as long as you got an ID. I'm like, no, wait, let me take this back. How do I get into Mexico? You can just walk in the gate. I was like, what? How do I get back to America? They were like, well, you have to have a passport or an ID. And I was like, well, I don't have a passport. They're like, you got an ID? And I was like, I got an ID. They were like, don't go over there if you don't have one or the other. I was like, I got the ID. They're like, oh yeah, you can just walk in and walk back and get back in line. Customs, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just like, man, you can just walk into Mexico? So we walked into Mexico.
Let you walk on in?
We took a photo before, like under the Mexico sign. It looked like we were all terrified. So it was like 5 of us pros. It was Jason Larev, Mike Capes, me, Brandon McDowell, BMC, Brandon McCoy.
Yeah.
And then one other person, I can't remember who it was. Was it? No, it wasn't. I can't remember who it was. But we walked in there, and as soon as we get in there, man, I'm looking at this military guy, and he's got on like this white gray camo. I'm like, man, look at that American soldier. And then I stopped and thought to myself, that's a Mexican soldier. We're not in America anymore. And then we got chased down that walkway by a bunch of people, and we ran so fast and just went around the bridge. And once we got around the bridge, all the noise stopped, and we were like home free. So we're walking down the way, kids are coming up, juggling, looking for like tips. You're just like, oh my gosh, they just performed for me. Am I supposed to? You're like, oh, we're not in America anymore. You're like, that's a child. He was like 4. He's juggling. So we like gave him a US dollar. Like, I don't know what to do. And we walked down and we're like, oh man, there's ladies on the side of the road selling rosaries and luchador masks. So I brought one of the Rey Mysterio luchador wrestling masks. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up watching WWE. I was like, no way, I'm grabbing this.
Yeah. Authentic.
There you go. From, you know, lady on the side of the road, she was whipping them things. They were like $2. You're like, wow. They were bartering too. So bought a bunch of stuff, walked back and got in customs and showed them ID and got back to America.
Wow.
That was, I'm sorry, that was that same trip.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That sounds like
Yeah, there's a guy that walked to Mexico before.
Right, the places BMX takes you.
Yeah, went international.
Thank you guys for watching another fire episode here at Beyond the Gate with Dustman and Nate. We had OD on, Stefen on. Thanks to you guys for tuning in and watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell.
Riders ready to watch the game.